2, 1. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It is Annette the Peacemaker from the Yang Gang Report Live. And today I have my Yang Gang Report teammate and sister, Faye the Lone Star Warrior. And then we also have our very special guest, Tom. How do you pronounce your last name?
Leung.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Leung.
Really?
Young.
I would have said
I didn't want.
All right.
Well, Leung is the Americanized version because I wouldn't want to make everybody speak Cantonese. Yeah, Leung is great. Mm-hmm.
My last name is Ku, but in Chinese it's Gu.
Yeah, so, don't try and that's too hard. In Germany, when I lived in Switzerland, people were able to learn much more easily because there's like some German sounds that kind of sound like that, like this, with the umlaut and stuff. But I think for the American audience, Leung has worked for our family for multiple generations.
But you know what? We didn't start with the Tom signature. I feel like I've been waiting all year to do this.
Oh,
can we do it just once?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to start it, or do you guys want to go?
Yeah.
Hello, nerds! Nerd power! Love it.
Okay. So for the people that, so I'm going to say for anybody that tunes in, because I have friends that aren't in Yang Gang that tune into my podcasts. So we need to explain who Tom is and what's going on. So Tom has a channel on YouTube that used to be called Nerds for Yang, and now it is called Nerds for Humanity. And I have been following Tom's channel for at least a year, probably longer. And I have probably watched hundreds of your videos, and I have shared as many on the Yang Gang Report. We used to have like a schedule, like a television schedule, right? And we would post. So you had your own designated time slot, time slot, Tom. And I used to go every day and cruise YouTube and find all our regulars, like Grassroots Yang Gang and Paget and you and Mindful Skeptics.
Sure.
And then there were, so you guys produced content almost every day. And so I would share that almost every day. And then there were the other ones like J. Scott Garibay off the top of my head, and Ronnie B. Read My Lips, so they didn't produce quite as often, but I would share them every time. And then of course Ariel's Revolutionary Thinking and stuff like that. So we don't do it like on a schedule like that anymore, but I still go to YouTube every single day, and I still look for those primetime players. I look at you guys every day.
Oh, thanks, Annette. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's good because you put some time into making this stuff, and you just hope that it's useful to people. So I'm glad that appreciate you spreading the word.
You bet. It's my pleasure. So Tom is kind of a Yang Gang celebrity to us. You are.
I'll have to tell my wife that I'm now a celebrity. She'll get a kick out of it. She'll be like, yeah, go take out the garbage.
Well, celebrities still do that. I mean, we just don't see it on screen.
True.
Life still has to go on.
Yeah.
So I see that you're going with your Twitter, Nerds for Yang, but you've retooled your group and your YouTube videos and such to Nerds for Humanity.
Correct. Yeah, I think Twitter doesn't, at least I wasn't able to figure out how to change my handle without like losing all the followers. So I was like, well, I don't want to start from zero. So I might as well leave it at Twitter, Nerds for Yang. I think the display name on Twitter is Nerds for Humanity, but the handle itself is still Nerds for Yang. Yeah, basically after the campaign suspended, I have always been a political junkie, like since I was in junior high. So I love talking about politics, and it was just the Yang campaign that got me to start producing content about it, on YouTube. And after the campaign suspended, I guess my view was, hey, the work needs to go on. Like, we need to keep pushing for reform and innovative policies. And also, like, who knows, maybe Yang will run again. Like, why just fold the tent and kind of stop this community that we've put together. And switched it to Nerds for Humanity. And in a way, I think we've attracted some audience now that aren't officially like hardcore Yang Gang, but just interested in kind of political discussions and policy stuff. So, and of course, now that Andrew's running again, we'll be talking about that for sure, and trying to get him, see if I can squeeze us into his calendar, but no word yet on that.
So I like how you took a word, nerds, right, that is often used as a sort of pejorative.
Yeah.
But you turned it into a strength, and you are leaning hard on this. Now, so how do we become official nerds? So as Nerds for Humanity, how do we do this? If we want to be join the in group now.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I think my brother, not my MAGA brother, my other brother, who's a little bit more center of the road, he was not happy when I told him I was starting the channel called Nerds for Yang. He's like, oh, why are you using that term? Like, it's so, it'll push people away and whatever. And I was like, I think it's a little bit of a reappropriation of a term to say, hey, this used to be something that some of us used to be called in school in a negative way. And we want to embrace nerddom. And I would describe it as like just having a keen interest in like the real details and nuance of any kind of complex thing. It could be science, it could be chess, it could be art, it could be literature, but someone that really gets into stuff because you're just really, you find it fascinating, and really you just can't help but kind of try and unpack a problem and really get into kind of the nitty gritty and embrace kind of the nuance. And so we called it Nerds for Yang and originally. And I think everybody has a little bit of nerd in them, and I think we should celebrate that. I mean, the opposite would be like also a pejorative term, so I don't use it a lot, but would be jock, where you're celebrated for like your physical kind of coordination and strength and ability to run like super fast or hit people really hard. And I'm all for being healthy and active, but you should keep your brain healthy and active too. And that's so I think everybody has nerd in them, and we should just be, it's okay to be into the details and get beyond the 280 characters on any issue and just really kind of look into the specifics. And that's what I loved about Andrew. Like, he could speak at such length about complex topics, and the nuances of nuclear power or economics or mindsets of scarcity and abundance and the psychology behind that. Those are not things.
I think having your channel as one of the sort of the constellation of interesting new media people that are coming up with Andrew Gang together. I think it's part of our personality. If we could say there's a personality for our group, that we are very math oriented, and we seem to lean hard on things that people would say, well, that's going to turn you off. That's going to be whatever. I mean, think about putting the word math like Annette has on her.
I know.
When I heard that, I was like, isn't everybody going to say, this is what I had a husband who was a mathematician. And so I was well aware that every time a conversation would start with us, if they say, well, what do you do? And he said, I studied math. Then immediately the next phrase would be, well, I'm terrible at that. And then that ends that conversation. It's just kind of like, okay, now we got to start over, find something else to talk about. And so I was like, how is that going to open up conversations? But it did. Yang Gang really made it work. And so I think this leads into your own interest in sort of whoa, look at that snow outside. I'm gonna have to show you in a minute, but why don't I just show you right now? But like leading you, whoa, look at the. Can you
I
see
didn't
the
know it
snow?
snowed in Texas.
This is Palestine, Texas. We're kind of in East Texas, 2 hours
wow.
south of Dallas. And apparently it's snowing in Austin as well, which is farther south of me. So yes, it is. It's pretty amazing. It's going to get into the 29 degrees tonight.
Holy cow.
So yeah, things are changing, but you're really into the numbers and the looking at things in a mathematical way. And you do that when you go to make your analysis for your website as well. I mean, for your.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a classic example, and it has its limits, though. I'll have to have to be honest. I think, the nerd,
we or something of yours?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ned. I didn't hear you. You broke up a little bit.
I missed the first part also.
I think she was saying, should we show something?
Oh, I was wondering if. Yeah, should we show maybe one of your videos or something, like a little bit of one of your videos or something? So
if we only have an hour, if we only have an hour with Tom, maybe we can do some of that after, or after he takes off. Maybe we could share something at the end if you'd like.
Yeah, whatever works for you all. One of the examples I would give just for future, like I'll put it in the chat. In the private chat.
Okay.
That would be an analysis of like the latest New York City mayoral poll. Really fascinating because you see
my son.
Family life, love it. You see these kind of unexpected kind of nuggets that make you think a little differently. So in the mayoral poll, Andrew Yang has more support from older white voters in New York than he does from younger minority voters. And that wasn't the case in Iowa. So it's just sort of like, wow, it's going to be a very different dynamic, a very different campaign in New York than we saw in Iowa and New Hampshire. I don't know if that's good or bad for Andrew, but it's just really interesting to see like an angle that you wouldn't expect. The other thing about kind of looking into data and charts is I also acknowledge there's a limit to it, because while data to me can be super powerful, it has been diminished in recent years, because even if you show someone data that, in my opinion, would clearly suggest a conclusion, I think today's world, the current environment, is very dismissive of any evidence that contradicts your existing worldview. So as an example, like today, we still debate whether COVID is like really a problem. And a lot of people, on Twitter, I've been arguing with them for the last few weeks about, they're saying it's just a cold and it's just a way for the doctors to kind of like, screw over and make more money. And, you guys are just blowing this all out of proportion. And then I'll show the data and like, hey, this is a hospital ICU utilization rate. This is not normal for hospitals to have to start triaging patients because they literally have no room. Like, when does the cold or the flu do this? And then people will say, oh, that's the CDC. I don't trust that. That's deep state kind of thing. So as much as I love the power of data, we have gotten to the point in some circles where whatever data you show will be dismissed as fake news and as part of a deep state conspiracy. And I don't know how to get out of that, because then what do you do? It's like, well, I can't show you evidence. I can't show you like numbers. Like, what can I do to help try and move this conversation forward? And that's unfortunate. And I don't remember it being this bad. I mean, it's not like it's new. We had this with climate sort of debates and, in the past. So, but it seems pretty tough right now, pretty polarized.
Well, Tom, I'm meeting you for the first time, and you're meeting me too. So I just wanted to let you know that I am I'm really good at math, but so I'm a private tutor sometimes. And my students, I've noticed, you know, there are a lot of things that in modern day, in this time and day, people are not they're not given a chance to learn as children anymore, because parents do a lot for their children in order for their children to succeed. And the children are stuck at school all day. So they don't get to do things like even like, you know, cutting up the pizza or measuring things and cooking and gardening. Like people live in situations where they don't have, you know, these things available to them. And so people are not learning math properly because they're not learning it from experience, from actually having to do it. And they're being told that they have to sit in classrooms and be, you know, they're just doing it to pass a test. And then I noticed that the parents, they're sending me their children at about 4th grade, which means that the parents no longer feel, they don't feel like they can handle the mathematics that's happening even at that level. At the 4th grade level is where most parents are sort of feeling like, I'm not so sure I can do this. So, so when you talk about, you know, why are people not really responding to, you know, the data, it's because they really have trouble. They don't have the skills they need in order to understand it well. And so you've actually hit on the other possibility, is that you've got a camera, Tom, and you can take that. I know you usually podcast from or live stream from your home, right? Is that what you normally do it from your desk?
Correct.
Maybe you could take your camera, you know, out into the public space and show them like what's really happening in the world. Because what's happening for us in the rural areas, we don't even get a chance to see what's happening in a big city. And what's worse is the big city people don't see what's happening in the rural areas. In fact, nobody ever has to come out to a rural area if you live in a big city, because all your needs are met there. But for the rural person, we're forced to go into a big city only when we get sick, or when we want to do something, you know, like get some special groceries we don't have, buy some shoes we don't have in town. So rural people do go into the big city. We just don't get to live there. But the big city people never come out to the rural areas. And so that's something that I often ask, you know, somebody who has the ability to show things through their video making and their, you know, to come to take the time to go out to a rural area and do some interviews and, you know, show people what, you know, bring with you the things that you see in the big city. So.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I took the kids sleigh riding a couple weeks ago because they missed the snow now that we moved from Zurich to the Bay Area. So we drove about 3 hours east into the rural part of Northern California. And it was like a different world. It's amazing how you are just so used to the environment you're in that you forget how expansive and diverse the country is. And my kids were remarking about, because this was I think it was in like around Christmas week. So, but there were still all of these huge blue MAGA flags all over, and like pickup trucks with like big flagpoles like stuck in the beds, like serious hardcore. And so they were curious, like, oh, the election, didn't that happen in November? And I was like, yeah, but you know, like there's still a little bit of enthusiasm there. But then second is that, like, when are my kids going to interact with these kids, these people's kids, and vice versa? Because we are growing up in two different Americas at the moment. And if we're going to succeed, we're going to have to do it together. And it's sad. I mean, I think during Yank's campaign, he talked about like kind of like an internal exchange program where people are introduced to other perspectives, because I bet my kids would learn a lot of great things, you know, in fact, they love the outdoors, so they would probably like not even want to come back. And maybe some of the kids that grow up in more rural areas would see a different side, you know, of the states, that kind of checking out a large metropolitan, you know, coastal area or whatever. Even in my own family, my brother, one of my other brothers who's hardcore MAGA, when I moved to San Francisco in the Bay Area on the peninsula, he was going to visit, and he's like, I'm worried about Antifa Like, is it safe? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like,
it's just not a thing in your
I was
daily
like, I
life.
live by Palo Alto. Like, there's no riot. They're not burning down my neighbor. You know, like this. He's like, no, I saw on Newsmax, like all of California, it's a riot. And so, you know, we need to kind of understand each other more. And I'm sure I have misperceptions about rural parts and deep red parts of the country, and I need to get out of my bubble as well. But you know, anything we can do to kind of mix different ideas and perspectives, I think will be good for the country. We need that badly.
Well, I feel like we're doing that right now on this live stream because you're actually in San Francisco area, and me and Annette are both in super rural areas of the country. I'm in East Texas, and Annette, you're in, down in almost near the border of Mexico, in Arizona.
10 miles from the Mexican border.
Oh wow, yeah, those are entirely different environments than what I'm you know, kind of familiar with. So I'm glad we're able to trade perspectives for sure.
Yeah, and also you'll notice that we have very poor internet. So sometimes you'll see a lag on Annette's end. She can't hear us until, you know, the sound has caught up.
Yeah.
And we just continue to do this because we feel it's so important that even with all of the issues in the connectivity and you know, just not getting really good quality, but we still need to put it out there because the rural people are often unseen and unheard. And I think that was something that Yang really noticed when he started trying to pull together his campaign.
100%.
So,
yeah, 100%. I noticed that when I used to have Blair Waldingham in Tennessee come on to the Nerd Show from time to time.
Yeah.
And her internet was terrible. And I was like, what is going on over there? And you wonder, like, how is this acceptable from a national infrastructure point of view? Like, how is it that we're okay with huge swaths of the country basically like on black and white TV and the rest of us are on like HD 4K? Like, this is like a core right of information, you know, and communication. And it seems like it's something that both parties should be able to agree on. And it's sad that like there was that so-called infrastructure week, but I don't know what happened. Like it seems like we couldn't get it done.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would like to hear more about what you are planning on getting done because you have started something new, which maybe, you know, all of Yang Gang hasn't heard about yet. And we would like to let them know more about ofthepeople.us. This is a new website that, and it represents a group that you're forming. What is it?
Yes.
What is this for?
Yeah, so basically it was inspired by all of the Yang Gang running for Congress. And it was this notion that, hey, you know, why don't more everyday people run for office? And one of the original hypotheses was, well, maybe it's hard to just get your first 1,000 supporters, or it's hard to kind of take that first step. Since that point, we actually have done a bunch of market research and talked to advisors, including like Eric Sanchez from the Yang Comms team. And then, you know, we've talked to, so many different folks that are run for office, like Erica Rhodes and Jermaine Johnson and stuff like that. So one of the things that we've concluded is that part of the challenge, if you really want to introduce more voice and competition into the democratic process, you kind of have to start earlier than Congress. And so when you look at, speaking of data, when you look at the numbers, 80% of congressional representatives have held state or local office prior to rising to the federal level. And then when you talk to the people who are familiar with how the political parties work, they generally will scout and nurture talent first that they pick up at the local, town, city level before kind of identifying people to run for congressional office. So if you try and launch people into Congress from scratch, it can be done, but it's more of an exception than the rule. So of the people we're actually going to launch in the next few weeks, we're going to start with a focus on local candidates, people running for county commission, city council, that kind of thing. And the goal will be to connect national volunteers and donors to like-minded local candidates. And it's not necessarily because you as a potential donor or volunteer are super passionate about, such and such a town's city council, but maybe you feel like this particular candidate identifies with your kind of political goals or policy aspirations. And that for that person to make it to the highest levels, they need to start somewhere. So let's get them going. It's kind of like investing in a farm league, if you will. And so that's the other benefit, is that you can actually have massive impact on the outcome of a person's candidacy at the local level with just like 5 volunteers and a couple $1,000s. Whereas if you try to apply that at the congressional level, it may not make that much of a difference. So Of the People, in short, will be launching by the end of January, and it will be focused on connecting national volunteers and donors with local candidates, and then you'll be able to identify the candidates that you think align most with your values and where you want the country to go. And the goal will be 5-10 years from now, those people you support at the local level start showing up at the federal level. And while I know a lot of us want change faster, sometimes you have to kind of work upstream to really make it
trickle up.
Yeah, it really is.
Which is another one of our beautiful Yang Gang groups, trickleup.com. So I'm interested in
Hold on. I need to make this banner, and it's called Of the People.
.us.
And then I saw the ofthepeople.us, but the name of, like, what should I call this? Is it like a nonprofit?
Yeah, we haven't registered yet as a nonprofit, but it will be a nonprofit. It's a kind of grassroots democracy initiative or local candidate support platform, whatever you want. But it's ofthepeople.us.
So I wanted to tell you an experience I had earlier this year, which is well, not this year. This year is a new year. Back in 2020, I ran for an office, but it wasn't a typical office. It was just within the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
So would you also help people who are running for campaigning for some sort of position in their party? Not like in the Democratic Party. So I ran for like national delegate to go to the national convention so that I could show people what was happening there. But there were a lot of other positions to run for, just in the party level,
Yeah. So the way the platform works is you create a profile as someone who wants more support, volunteers, donors, whatever it is. You provide information about yourself, what your beliefs are, what your priorities are, what office you're seeking. And then potential supporters can browse and search and filter based on, like, let's say I might be like, hey, I want to find pro basic income candidates who, down the road, maybe I could even be more specific and say, who also studied economics and went to maybe my undergrad. Let's say down the road when we have that many people. And then I can support those candidates, and they could be running for mayor or county commissioner, or they could be running for some party office. Like, it's really up to me to decide if I want to volunteer for them or if I want to donate to them. At the end of the day, Of the People is just about connecting people with similar interests and similar values, and helping those candidates earlier in their career get enough help to get some traction and plant a lot of seeds.
The earliest part of the career that a lot of people don't think about is just learning the ropes of how your party works and then changing the platform of your party, which is what we did a lot of work on that in the Texas Humanity Forward group, back then we were just Yang Gang, and we got together and pushed through the UBI to be part of the Social Security section of the Texas Democratic Party platform. Which then leads to the Democratic taking that up to the national level. I don't know if it actually succeeded at national level because I didn't end up going. But I remember being told that, becoming a national delegate in a typical year when they didn't do everything virtually would have taken many thousands of dollars to travel and to stay in a hotel and to be able to eat out. And because the eating out is where you socialize with everybody. You don't go to a convention to go hide in your hotel room and do nothing. You have to actually pay to get into certain events that are all about, raising money. And so if you have this money with you, then you can go and participate and actually meet people, right? And this is how you develop your connections. And I think a lot of people miss out on this because they feel that they're too poor to be able to, get that. But I told in my area, I told everybody, hey, if I need this money, Yang Gang will come through for me.
Yeah, I believe that for sure.
So it was going to happen. So I wasn't worried, So everybody should have a Yang Gang when they need to run for office. This is what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that highlights is also how long and multi-step a process it can be to have real change happen. And I think a lot of us, I've noticed we're frustrated where we are today and, why don't we have basic income already or whatever. But we forget that the guy just started running for office a couple years ago. And if you look at America's history, great kind of fundamental change and reform, sometimes takes decades. And the system is not designed to fast twitch changes, in a year or two. And you have to sometimes build relationships, and people need time to kind of get comfortable with an idea, and they're not like early adopters like we might all be for basic income. But hopefully we as a movement really kind of gird ourselves for a march, and that march may take a long time, but as long as we're making progress every year, it'll be worth it. And I think we'll be able to look back and tell our grandchildren and great grandchildren that we were part of something from the very beginning.
Yeah, I would love to bring on someone who is all about the revolutionary change, revolutionary thinking, Ariel Bakshende. We have him backstage, and he's been waiting very patiently for his chance to come and speak with you. No. So,
all right.
Here we are.
Perfect segue. That was perfect, Faye. Nicely done.
Hi, Ariel.
Okay.
Oh, are you muted?
Hello, Ariel.
We can't hear you yet.
No.
Nope, no sound. This was happening to Ariel the last time he was podcasting with Annette, and we don't know why. So do you want to type your question into the private chat, and we can have Tom maybe answer that way? Sorry about that. I don't know what the technical difficulty is today, because I often Yang Gang Abilene, Redis County per capita in 2016. Yang Gang helped knock 10% off here in 2020.
Wow.
That is awesome. I wish I had met you earlier, Diana. We need to get together. Is it snowing for you in Abilene? All right. Oh, Ariel says he wants to call. Interesting.
Yes. Okay. So this is what we did last night when she was talking about the terrible internet in the rural areas. Well, we had this problem last night, and Quintus called me on my phone, and I ended up hanging the phone on my microphone, and we had a conversation.
Creative solutions.
I love it.
So I'm going to
Apollo 11 stuff.
So here you go, Ariel. I'm going to put my where is my phone? There it is.
So there's these chain things that go around on Twitter. Sometimes we just start a thing. There's a chain thing where people nominate hotties, and Yang Gang hotties. Would you be incredibly embarrassed if I were to go ahead and nominate you, Tom?
As a Yang Gang hottie?
Yes. I don't want to get in trouble with the wife.
No, you know, there's a first time for everything. That's great.
Awesome. Okay. So Ariel's getting his phone ready. Here we go.
I do have the hottest charts.
The hottest charts?
The hardest data. Yeah.
Tom, beauty comes from inside, and we can see it shining through you all the time. Every time you go to talk about something that's important to making real change, systemic change.
I hope I believe we'll look back and be really proud of everything we've done. And it's so worth it. Not only is it worth it, we as a country need to save ourselves because we are not in a great place right now. And so I feel like it's an obligation, especially as a Texas got snow.
Jacqueline's up in Pennsylvania near Erie. And so she's
you would
much
think
farther
Pennsylvania
north.
should have snow in spades.
Well, Zephyr's got like a nice, wow, that is like at least an inch now. We've got like an inch of snow outside because it is white all the way across. I don't see any dirt out anymore. It's pretty amazing. It's pouring down here. Okay. So it's just rain, sounds like. All right. So apparently Ariel is hopping in and out. So we'll see how.
Hopefully we'll get you back, Ariel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to finish up the last thought, I was just saying, as a son of immigrants who has benefited greatly from the resources and opportunities of this country, I feel super obligated to put time in and to try and help. And I think we all as Americans have an obligation to our future generations to give them a country that's in better shape than we got it. And I can't say this generation is on the track to do that right now. So we got to dig in. Like, we can't give our kids a mess like this. This is just not acceptable. So yeah, hopefully we can get it done.
Okay. So other than we wanted to also talk a little bit about what's going on right now in the current moment.
Oh boy.
Do you think that there will be actual removal of Trump before his time is up, or we're just going to drag it out? And then is he actually going to leave peaceably?
I don't think he will be removed. We, as of this taping, we have 10 days to go. Ironically, a few weeks ago, I said, oh, there's only a little more than 2 weeks before Trump is gone. Like, what could he possibly do? And then someone was saying, don't jinx us. And I feel like I did jinx us because obviously, like, he started a riot in the Congress. So I don't think he'll be removed just for practical reasons. I don't think the will is there for the 25th Amendment, particularly because the people who would have voted, we've lost 2 votes, potentially, Chow and DeVos.
Okay, so how about now?
Oh, yeah, we got you, Ariel.
Oh,
yes, you're in.
This is ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is on my end, but at least like the phone works. It's funny, you know, Tom, how you mentioned like big city. I live in a big city too. I live in LA.
Yeah,
and it's one of the biggest and craziest cities. Sure. But the thing that I wanted to say is that I think a lot of Trump supporters have a lot of overlap with Yang supporters, and it's funny because like I was pro-Trump in the beginning, and the reason was because he was talking about like good, high quality jobs that he was going to bring back to the United States. Now, it turned out he was only in it for his ego. Everything is about him. He's a malignant narcissist. And almost a year into his presidency, I could have found that out. But the thing that I found that was amazing is that, first of all, he beat the Democrats. So that kind of shows you that the Democrats aren't that smart to lose to a guy like Trump. And the Democrats were just beating on the, you're just frustrated because you're a racist and you don't have an education, drum instead of saying, hang on a second, we see the kind of like economic chaos that's going around here, but they hardly talked about that at all. So they lost to a man like Trump. Like, that's the way that I see it.
I mean, I agree. And I think that's why Andrew was so refreshing, because he was both a Democrat, but also willing to acknowledge that everything is not fine and that we do need to make some big moves. And just increasing college loans and the usual kind of Democratic
what about the
Party.
people who don't even want to go to college?
Exactly.
What about the people who just want to get work like right out of high school? What about the people who want to like go in the trade? They weren't talking about any of that. And like it amazes me that you like Trump hates the media, and we all know that. But when the media was ignoring Yang, like that was a big deal too.
True. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting in that there are so many kind of Trump or former Trump supporters, or maybe even current Trump supporters, who were and are still in the Yang gang. And I think there are some commonalities there in terms of frustration with unfair media coverage one way or another, frustration with the kind of 1980s Democratic Party platform being applied to 2020 problems. So I agree. And I that's why I thought Yang was so refreshing. And at the same time, there was always this debate you remember before the election around like, oh, lesser of two evils thing.
Right.
But this guy, I'd rather have like an AMC Gremlin than an exploding Ford Pinto. Like, I cannot deal with this man literally inciting riots. I mean, invading the Capitol during a certification of a election? Are you serious? Like killing a police officer with a fire extinguisher? Like, what the hell is going on? And then running around the rotunda with a Confederate flag? Like, how is this happening?
But Trump is a spoiled Yankee from New York, and this guy has like a Confederate flag.
I know. It's the ultimate irony. It's the ultimate irony. I
Right.
know, he lives in Manhattan.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, it's like Trump, look, like Yang has the data and the analysis and all of that, but Trump knows how to get people passionate and fire people up. Now, I think what I do on revolutionary thinking, I try to get the nerd side of like, look, this is what the data says and this is what that says, and mix it with the passion side. Because I really think that Yang was being a little too nice in his running. There are people out here who are frustrated, who are angry, who are destitute, and he could have had a little more fire. Not in the way of like the way that Trump does it as a bully, but just as like, hey, pay attention. Hey, like something, just you can mix the passion and the data and the analysis, and you can get something that's like truly amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that combination is for sure powerful. And I think Andrew had always tried to strike this balance. I mean, he was a bit of the nice guy in that Democratic primary field. And to some extent, nice guys don't always finish first. We know that. But on the other hand, like, I know that he didn't want to alienate a bunch of people and have too sharp of elbows. And I guess there's always some balancing and tuning and calibration that needs to happen.
But listen to this: when he could have done that, and then when he became the president, he could have dropped all of that and became his old nice self again. I think that would have been, the winning strategy. It's like that. But anyway, hindsight is 2020, as they say. I just think now this pandemic has just accelerated the UBI. It seems that the only Democrat against these $2,000 stimulus checks right now is Joe Manchin, which he's in a very like deep red state, the state of West Virginia. So I don't know if it's because of that or because of something else. But I just think it takes people like you, Tom, because before you became a Tom, weren't you the guy who was like teaching people how to grow their YouTube channels, or was that someone else?
Yeah, I previously in my day job I worked at YouTube.
You worked at YouTube as, I don't know, but I know H3D3 or whatever his name was.
H3, yeah, Ethan.
Yeah, he called out what was
the Creator Insider channel.
Yeah, Creator Insider. You were a Creator Insider, exactly. So I think the best thing is that we can all help each other grow. We can all like, you know, a lot of like big creators want to push out like smaller ones, but a lot of them want to like help them up. So I think if we all just kind of like work together, it'll really help just to get some kind of message and voice out there.
Oh, 100%. In fact, one of the things that that I've been advocating and starting to do on my own streams is from time to time, I'll shout out a smaller Yang Gang or Yang Tube channel. And I think it's just like the more reach the initiative has and the sort of ecosystem has, the better it is for all of us, because it's not a competition. Like, it's not like, oh, a viewer from Nerds for Yang that goes to Aerial Revolutionary Thinking is somehow hurts me. Like, we're all trying to get the same thing done. We're trying to increase awareness. So I would love to see more of that, more Yang Tube channels promoting each other. And you know, I've tried to do it, but we'll keep doing more. Ariel, we should get you on the Nerds channel, and same with you, Faye and Annette. We should kind of have a collab.
Let me just say that Yang Gang was the reason why I hit 1K subscribers. Yeah,
that's awesome, Ariel.
I had my YouTube channel for like 10 years. And I was like at like 300, 400. I started making Yang videos. And everybody loved like the fire that I put into them, and I hit 1K. And now it's just I can't monetize because I still don't have the watch hours. I think something's happening with that, but it's so nice to have a community. I think that like I say, competition is a mindset of scarcity, and collaboration is a mindset of abundance.
Yeah, so 100%.
We'd love to have maybe Jacqueline join Annette, but me and Ariel, are you headed over to visit at the YGRT podcast now, Ariel?
Yeah.
Because we have Vigirant, we have @Vigirant, who is a fasting for humanity, and also doing a I call it hunger strike for UBI. These are the two hashtags that we're using. And she's on her 30th day. We had her earlier on the YGRL, so people who've been watching us know about it. But there's very few people paying attention to this, and I feel like you know, it's something that people need to know about. And so me and Ariel are headed over to YGRT, and we need to let Tom go because he had a scheduled amount of time with us. But hopefully you guys can get together in the future, and through the magic of Facebook and Messenger and so on and so forth. Contact Tom at Twitter, Nerds for Yang. And do you have your DMs open, or do you need to follow back?
They are open. Just send them my way. Ariel,
Excellent.
we'll find the time, and Faye and Annette will find the time and put you on the Nerds calendar.
Excellent. All right. I'll see you later, Tom. I'm going to head over to YGRT.
Thank you.
Bye, nerds. Adios,
bye, nerds.
Sorry that we didn't have enough time to bring Jacqueline on earlier, but if she's interested, I think Annette would be. Are you open to staying on and talking a little more?
Yeah. I'll still talk with Jacqueline after you guys go.
All right. Well, okay. See you guys later.
Take care. Stay healthy, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. See you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. See you later. Jacqueline, come back. Come back. Okay, well, that was really fun. That was my first time meeting Tom and all that. Oh, okay. Well, Tom was on so she wanted to be able to speak with Tom, but Tom was on everybody was on a tight schedule today. So like down to the minute, 53 minutes was the specified time. So So yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me put. Okay, so I wanted to put everybody else's contact info up. Here is Ariel's. Ariel's Armada is what he is on Twitter. It looks like I need to edit that banner to state that more clearly. But then he has his YouTube channel called Revolutionary Thinking, and everybody needs to go and subscribe to that because it's good stuff, good stuff. And then, of course, Tom's is Nerds for Humanity on YouTube. Oh, here's a better one for Ariel. Okay. And then, so let's take this one. Let's do Faye. She's at the top. You can find Faye on Facebook as Faye I, and at Palestine Math on Twitter. Faye is the one that schedules most of the scheduled interviews that we do happen because of Faye. She's our go-getter, and she's the one that she's our guest wrangler. And so if you would like to schedule an interview or just come and hang out, whatever, contact Faye or myself, because I'm the host of the show. I have the StreamYard. And so here's all of my contact info. And I pay for this service here. So I put my Cash App, $ Yang Gang for life. And then I just started a Patreon yesterday, and I need to add that to my banner. So after I'm done, I'm just going to be editing banners in here for a minute. But my Patreon is Annette the Peacemaker. So if anybody would like to donate $1 or $2, that'd be fantastic. So I guess on that note, if there are no questions or comments, nope, it doesn't look like it. So I'm going to bring it to a close. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I am sorry that I couldn't get everybody on in time. We normally are like really flexible with our time, and our live streams can go. They've gone over a couple hours, you know. So, but today that wasn't possible. However, I am free all day long today. So if somebody has something that they want to talk about, I'd be happy to provide a platform. So let me know and we'll set up the stream. I'm just going to be stuck in here doing laundry all day. So, all right. All right. Well, Yang Gang love, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take good care.